You broke it now.
Okay, let's get started. Yesterday we went over a lot of reasons why the United States chose not to go to war. Okay, can somebody give me, there were 3 terms I gave you yesterday. Give me a term and tell me what it means. Ben?
Pacifism, you don't want to fight at all.
Don't want to fight at all. Okay, what other one?
Neutrality.
Neutrality, what does that mean?
You don't want to take a side.
Okay,
Isolationism.
what's that one?
Like you just don't want to do anything with anybody else.
Okay, so we have neutrality, isolationism, and pacifism. Okay? Alright, so from neutrality to undeclared war. And how this is different from World War I is the U.S. actually, even though we're not at war, we've chosen a side. Okay? 1939 to 1941, FDR sought help for England without actually entering the war. At this time, the British were the only country fighting the Nazis in Europe. The French had surrendered. The Polish had surrendered.
They haven't attacked Russia yet?
And they had not attacked Russia yet. Midway through 41, they do. November of 1939, belligerents may buy U.S. goods on a cash and carry basis. Meaning if they bring cash and they take it themselves, they can get it. 1940, Germany finishes the occupation of France. America First forms to protest the drift towards war. Anyone know who one of the major leaders of this group was? If you've read the chapter.
The what?
The America First Committee. They wanted to avoid war. They were kind of pro-Nazi and pro-Germany. Charles Lindbergh was one of the leaders of this group. White Committee wanted to aid Britain. So you have different groups. No group wanted to aid Germany. That wasn't happening.
You just said
Avoid war.
Oh.
They were pro-Germany in that they didn't want to go to war at all.
Oh.
They knew they would never go to war and help Germany defeat Britain. That wasn't going to happen. Okay? Okay. From neutrality to undeclared war, increased aid to England. Okay. U.S. greatly increased military spending and began a first ever peacetime draft. U.S. ships began transporting war supplies. Eventual consensus that a Nazi victory in Europe would threaten Western civilization. However, Americans still were not willing to A, enter war, and B, openly help the Allies. Finally, the passage of the Lend-Lease Act allowed them to actually help the British. Okay? And what it was, for example, we had 50 outdated warplanes. We could lend them to the British. Stuff that we wouldn't need.
Quote unquote land.
Right, exactly. Okay? U.S. Navy is told to shoot submarines on sight. So we are at kind of a de facto war with U-boats in our Navy. Okay? Roosevelt, you can see the actual popular vote gets a little closer. Electoral vote's still pretty big.
This is
Okay?
only
Election of
president to go
1940.
more than 2.
Yes, he is the only president ever elected to more than 2 terms. Yeah.
The reason for the closer gap in popular with that?
Two things I would attribute it to, and I might be wrong, there's other things as well. His court packing scheme and some of the things he did, some people thought he was taking the country too far to the left, too liberal, too socialist. And then you have a group who's worried about his openness in trying to aid the British and maybe bring us to another war. Okay.
He got elected for 4 terms, but he died
Yeah.
midway through.
Okay, back to that. He got elected to 4 terms, 32, 36, 40, and 44. Served 13 years. No president before or after ever served more. Now, how about before him? Why did no president ever serve more than 8 years?
Washington.
Yeah.
Washington. Did I go over that before?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, why has no president since this ever served?
It was a
There's
really
a
bad
Supreme Court ruling.
Right. So now what's the most the president could serve now?
2.
Two.
Well, no, technically 2.5 because of the vice president thing.
You could actually serve 11 years and 364 days. How?
If you were vice president and the president died,
Right,
you
if you're
became-
vice president. You could be elected to 2 terms. Okay, showdown in the Pacific. 1937, Japanese occupation of coastal China. U.S. limited exports to Japan of strategic materials. And this is where Japan and us are really starting to butt heads. Japan is an island. They need our steel. They need oil. 1940, Japan is allied with Germany and Italy. And they create the Central Powers. Japanese invasion of Indochina prompted the U.S. to end all trade. Now, Japan was every bit as evil as Germany was. Okay, one of the incidents that happened in China is known as the Rape of Nanking, where the Japanese soldiers raped and pillaged the entire town of Nanking. I think it was 37 or 38. Horrible slaughter, and considered one of the worst slaughters of the 20th century. So Japanese was no less brutal than Germany. Both countries are on a collision course attempting to take over the world. They ally with each other. And for the first time, it looks as if we will definitely have a world war that actually spans the entire world and not just Europe. All right, 1941, the U.S.-Japanese negotiate. Here is where people are really ticked at the Japanese. They are in Washington, D.C. negotiating. Japan's demands. Free hand in China mean, hey, China's our neighbor. We don't mess with what you do with Canada or Mexico. Let us do what we want. Restoration of normal trade relations. They need the steel. They need the oil. They need these raw materials. U.S. demanded Japanese troops out of China. December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor is attacked.
Are the Japanese-
Right as these negotiations are going on. Do you think Japan pulled the wool over our eyes a little bit here? Yeah. Here is a part of the reason I don't think FDR knew the exact time they would attack. Would we be negotiating with them if we knew they were going to attack? Probably not. Right?
Do you think the diplomats got out alive?
Yeah, they did. We're too nice. Good.
We let the diplomats out. We
Yes.
didn't put them in the.
I'm not sure. I can't. I don't know the answer to that question. So December 7th, 1941, a day that will forever live in infamy, as FDR said. We declare war the next day. Okay? And then a snowball effect happens that basically Germany, Italy, and Japan have all declared war against us. And us and Britain and France and so on have declared war against. Yeah.
Didn't the main naval commander of Japan heavily advise against attacking us in Pearl Harbor?
Now I'm not sure which one it was. One said it would be a
Yamamoto or
mistake.
something?
One, Yamamoto and Hirohito, yeah, you're right. He said, you know what, this isn't a good idea.
They're like sleeping dragon or something.
Yep.
he said.
Can you use my phone for a second?
Yeah.
You should probably